Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Retro Warriors, episode 373. Woo. As always, I'm your host, Justin Baker, and as always, I'm joined by resident old bastard, Chris Saturn.
Hello.
Hi. We haven't recorded in a while, so this feels weird.
It does a little weird, yeah.
I don't... Although we better get used to it, because we're recording 4 episodes in 7 days span.
We'll figure it out.
Which is, that's a lot of hours of us. You know?
I like the way you phrase it. Makes it sound like you're not looking forward to it. You're like, oh, I'm going to have to listen to you guys.
I look forward to the show.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to sit and record for 3.5 hours.
Right.
But I still like doing the show.
Yeah.
The show's it's a good time.
And there are times when I'm like, man, I don't want to have to like block away that amount of time in my evening.
Yeah, I'd rather sit on the couch and do nothing.
Right. But it is like my primary socialization in my life these days. Because like I'll talk to people at work, but otherwise it's just chatting with people on Discord. So I have to save up all of my socialization and just pour it at you on the show.
Well, that's good. And also, it's highly structured, which helps with the old anxiety.
Exactly.
I've learned that's why I like weddings so much. I've discovered that I've won this weekend. That's because you show up and they tell you when to party and when to eat and when to talk and they tell you when to do everything. It's great.
But not if you're participating in it, because then you have to spend weeks thinking about the organization.
Yeah. Guy's here. Well, he's always here, but he's going to be here at the end of the show after the ending theme. So stay tuned for our producer Guy. He's going to be on the show to talk about
stuff.
I don't know. Yeah, hockey,
baseballs.
Maybe. Just talk about baseballs.
Yeah.
And that'll be good. My week, I bought a second time Demon's Tilt.
Rebought a second time.
I rebotted Demon's Tilt. I have it on Switch. I bought it on Steam Deck or on Steam, because it was cheap. Yeah. Look, we haven't recorded in like 3 weeks. I forgot how to talk. I just don't.
Did you ever see any of the Saturday Night Live sketches where Eddie Murphy played Buckwheat from the Little Rascals?
No.
There was one where he was selling an album on an infomercial called Buckwheat Sings.
Yeah.
And it's just him like mispronouncing everything in the same way that Buckwheat did as a child, but as a grown man. And it always has like the name of the track at the bottom. And at one point he just starts like saying gibberish and it just has question marks at the bottom. And he's just going, a did a data, a bit of the bot. And that's kind of what you sounded like a minute ago is what I'm saying, is you sounded like Buckwheat.
There you go. There you go. I purchased Demon's Tilt on Steam, and it's
the spiritual
it's a good
successor to Demon's Crush, right?
It is. Yeah, I mean, success. I mean, it's
the heavily inspired by.
Yes, I would say inspired more than spiritual successor.
Okay.
It is a demon-themed pinball game. Mm-hmm. It's real fun. I still don't understand how pinball works.
There's a ball.
I get the basic maneuvering of you hit the ball, but there's all these different things to like unlock on the table, and it's like, well, you get 5 of these, and then this thing opens, and you get 7 of these, and then you hit it around this loop. But I don't ever know like how I'm supposed to know that.
You just kind of have to learn.
I guess
each table's different, so you know.
So I'm figuring it out. I'm having a good time with it. I hit my all-time high score, which is
8.
It's 8. No, it was it 29 million, I think.
Nice.
I don't know if that's good or not, but for people that play Demon's Tilt. That's where I am in my skill at Demon's Tilt. I'm at 29 million. That's where I've arrived at so far. But it's still it's a real fun game.
29 million is larger than the population of many countries.
Well, see, there you go. There you go. I also have started playing the Elder Scrolls Online.
Oh, that's when you play Morrowind while connected to a forum on dial-up?
Yeah, that's how you do it. And you just go in there and you're like, how do I get rid of vampirism? No, I had been wanting an MMO on the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
I don't know why. The idea of just having an MMO on deck seemed cool to me. So I was like, well, I'll go see what my options are. I didn't want to play Final Fantasy 14 because I just don't like it. I mean, I've put in a lot of hours on the game. You know, it's not like I didn't give it a chance. I just every time I play it, I'm like,
I really liked it, but I can't trust myself to play it.
I just never loved it. Like, I didn't hate it. It's a well-made game. I played the 1.0. I played the relaunch. I think my character's in like the mid 60s. So like I didn't play to like level 10 and be like, oh, it sucks, you know.
I didn't realize you'd gotten that far.
Yes. But I just never loved it. And so I was looking for other stuff. And I landed on Elder Scrolls Online because there's no subscription fee.
Nice.
And it's very controller friendly, to the point that really the game is entirely built around a controller. Right. And I'd kind of been wanting to play an Elder Scrolls, and I've learned a very frustrating thing about playing Elder Scrolls games on deck is that Skyrim works great with a controller, but the PC ports of Oblivion and Morrowind never got proper controller support. So you got to use kind of weird Steam configurations, and the game just kind of doesn't expect you to not have a mouse, and it's just a little bit more tedious to navigate those games using a controller than it is to just play the 360 or the Xbox ports of them.
Are the Game Pass versions the same way?
I don't know, but I can't install a Game Pass version on my deck anyway. Right. I believe they are, because I had installed the Game Pass version of Oblivion and modded it on my PC because I was checking out different mods for it, and as far as I could tell, it was the identical same PC version.
Gotcha.
But yeah, so I was already kind of wanting an Elder Scrolls type experience. I was already kind of annoyed that, you know, I still have to use like the mouse in the inventories of Morrowind. And so I picked it up, and I've been having a good time with it. Nice. It's pretty fun. I really like, and this is one of the major complaints I've learned about the game, is that literally everything everywhere scales to your level. If you get in a party, everything scales to your party level. You scale to each other, and I like that because that means I can literally go anywhere in the entire game and play that content and have fun, which is great for someone like me. I'm never going to put in the hours to get to, you know, the end game content or whatever. And I'm sure there is end game content that is probably exclusive to being high level, but whenever I'm like, oh, I want to go over to this zone because this zone looks really cool, I can just go there and start doing stuff there and everything, and I get adequate experience. Nice. And if I want to go to other level zones, I don't have to, because this always I find I'm a very finicky MMO player. I'll be like, oh, I want to go play in this zone, but this zone is too low level for me. But I want to be in like that environment. That's what's cool to me. And so I don't have to worry about any of that. I just go places and kill things and do quests, and it all is like, yep, you're getting experience just fine. Don't have to worry about anything. It's great. You're good. And so I've been having a good time. I'm playing a healer, which is weird for me. I normally don't play healers just because of the level of complexity that's usually it's involved with it. Because you're having to watch monsters and your party, and it's a lot to pay attention to, you know, especially when you get like higher level stuff. But Elder Scrolls Online being so designed for the controller, the healing in it is usually area of effect and cones. So I just point myself at my party and hit the heal button, and they are healed.
Yeah, you know, in Final Fantasy XI, you could just use the D-pad and scroll through your party and heal them without having to aim anything, which was nice.
Right. I don't even have to target. I never target my party members. In fact, as far as I know, there is no targeting in the game. It's just whatever you're pointing at is what you're going to execute toward. Like whatever you're facing, it'll kind of put an outline around that target, kind of highlight them.
Yeah.
But I never have to worry about targeting, and it makes the game just so much easier to play. Like I'm running dungeons and healing, and it's fun. It's just really easy to jump into, and it feels very casual friendly. So I've been having a good time with it. Nice. I get to play a lizard man, and I have a lizard that I ride, which is funny to me that I'm a lizard riding a lizard. So that's funny. And so I'm enjoying that part.
That'd be like a mammal riding a mammal.
Which would just be ridiculous.
Wait a second.
The free-to-play stuff, the Crowns store, as they call it, doesn't seem too offensive.
No.
I did do a month of the premium subscription or whatever, which I think boosts the XP that I gain, which isn't really a big deal because like I played one night. I played with a guy, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to make characters that we only play together?" And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that that's a thing you have to do in MMOs because your level will outstrip your party members.
Right.
And all of a sudden playing together is a chore. And at best, one of you is getting no experience while the other person is getting experience. And it just makes it not fun. And then once I found out that everything scales, I was like, oh, it doesn't matter. I could be max level and we could play together totally just fine. You don't even have to do anything. In fact, if I didn't know it was doing it, I never would have fucking noticed. I'd have just been like, it's weird. Nothing ever seems too high or low level. It all seems just right.
Yeah, the only downside to that is one of my favorite things in 14 at least was as a healer, I would just run around in the entrance areas of the high level zones and watch new players accidentally roam into an area that was way too strong for them. And as soon as they accidentally aggroed something, I would just heal them so that the monster would target me instead, just to give them a chance to run away. It wouldn't really give me any notable experience at all, but it made me feel better. And that was a fun thing to do, which I guess wouldn't really be plausible if everything was scaling.
I've had situations where I've been healing people out in the wild just because they needed healing. I do also like, just to remain on this tangent, something like in an MMO, if I'm running around and other people are in combat, I want to be able to join their combat.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be like, oh, that guy's fighting a thing. I'm going to go over there and fight that thing, too. I don't care what it is. I don't want it to have to be a public quest or a special zone or whatever. And as far as I can tell, that's how the game works. So, and what it does is it creates this situation where people are very prone to just joining in each other's combats willy-nilly.
Nice.
Because they'll still get experience rewards.
Yeah.
And that like, I don't want to socialize with people in an MMO, but it does give a little bit of a sense of like, you're not just playing a single player game. You're actually engaging with other people around. Here. Yeah. And you're all doing the same stuff, not just like in parallel next to each other, but actually engaging in the same boss fights and fighting the same mobs and stuff. And like, I like that a lot.
Nice.
My favorite part of Final Fantasy XIV was public quests, which was also my favorite part of Warhammer Online was their public quest system. Yeah. Because you're playing with other people,
right?
You know, out in the world, you get to explore and then do the thing, and then it's great.
The coolest thing for me, anyway, in 14 was Odin, because he would just show up like once or twice a week, like real time week, in a random place in the one zone, the Shroud, and it would take like 400 people to down him.
So people just be crashing into him like waves?
Oh, yeah, because if you got near him, he would basically one-shot you unless you were absolute max level. And so you would end up with like 2 or 3 dozen max level people, like all like taking turns aggroing him, while people were desperately trying to keep those people alive, and then DPS were just hammering him with attacks and trying not to get aggro. And you would end up just like the zone would load so slow because of how many people were there. But it was that rare event that was like exciting because everybody was engaged.
I like that kind of stuff in MMOs. I don't know what it is like. You can always like just queue up for a dungeon and do so with other people.
Sure, right.
But it's instance. There's something about being in the open world,
right,
and having these cool communal things happen. Like that's the exciting part of MMOs to me. Is existing in this world together as a huge group of people and doing things together without having to coordinate or talk or guild or whatever, you know. That's what I like. You know, that's a lot of fun to me. Anyway, ESO, I'm really enjoying it. Also, the combat feels very not MMO-like. Like, to attack, you have to press the attack button, and it doesn't, like, turn on auto-attack. You have to, you do it once. You know, it's much more, I guess, action-oriented would be the correct phrasing for it. Anyway.
And I think it's on Stadia, too, in case...
oh, boy.
In case you don't want to...
There is no crossplay. Stadia crossplays with PC because Stadia is PC. Right. But Xbox, PlayStation, and PC, separate servers entirely.
Weird.
I know. I was annoyed because it was on sale for $5, and I was like, well, I want it on deck, but I'll play it on Game Pass to see if I even like it first, because it was on sale for the weekend. And I played it on Game Pass, and I was like, all right, let me go log in. I bought the Steam version. It was $5.99 or whatever.
Yeah.
I think I bought the like deluxe whatever for like $20 that had all the shit in it. And I was like, how do I log in and get my character? No, separate servers entirely.
Boo.
I know. Ridiculous.
Weak.
And then I got to go, because while I'm Googling to figure out if they're separate, I got to encounter the MMO Defense Force, which for people that don't know, every MMO has an online defense force. that wants to tell you why every bad decision that they've made is actually the best decision.
Yeah, it actually benefits both the game and the community.
Yeah, and you're just too stupid to know it. In Saturn, you see, people playing on keyboard and mouse would physically dominate all people playing on controllers. So they can't have cross-server play because it would create an unfair advantage because of the action-oriented gameplay in Elder Scrolls.
Just like it happened on Final Fantasy XIV, right?
Exactly like it happened in Final Fantasy XIV. You
wait
fool. You fool! Anyway, lots of Elder Scrolls, lots of Demon's Tilt. That's all I've been up to. What have you been playing?
I adopted a cat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's been very...
I say as if I didn't know that and ask you about your cat like every day.
It's been very cat-heavy a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're still... I'm getting used to having her around, and she is finally starting to acclimate to the apartment. She is.
Now, this is your first pet since
in like
living...
15 years, man.
Yeah, like since living on your own, basically.
Well, no, because I had a rabbit when I first moved out of my parents' house. Actually, I still had my cat from when I was growing up for the first couple of years, and then he was 19 years old when he finally died.
Yeah.
And then
that scares me because my cat's been getting real skinny lately, and she's 18, and I'm like, oh shit.
He was not in great health either.
Yeah.
And then I had a rabbit for a little bit, and then I ended up living with my ex for a while, and she had 3 cats, so I didn't need to get another pet. And then I lived with somebody who was strongly against all pets for a while.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Wow.
He did not want any cats or dogs or anything else anywhere near his house, so I just had to get used to that for a while. And then when I did,
people that don't want to be around animals kind of weird me out.
Right.
It's like I don't trust them. You know?
See, I like pets. I love dogs. I just don't have the energy to own a dog.
Oh yeah, dogs are disasters on legs.
Oh yeah,
like there's
every dog is amazing, but they also require a ton of energy, and I don't always have that. Whereas
the next most disastrous thing to human children,
right?
Except for maybe monkeys, I guess. Like if you got a monkey, that might be pretty bad. But
right.
Yeah. Anyway.
But my cat is pretty cool, pretty chill. She is finally getting to the point where she's playful and wants to run around all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'm having to recognize that occasionally I'm just going to hear shit fall over in the other room.
Yeah.
But she's not panicking every time now, so that's something.
Well, that's good. Yeah, you're getting there.
But anyway, yeah. So I was playing the second Horizon on PS5 now. Forbidden West.
After being thoroughly whelmed by the first one, you've gone straight into the sequel that I assume is also whelming.
After like 70 hours of being whelmed by the first one, I'm 40-ish hours into being whelmed by the second one now.
Your patience with not loving an experience confounds me.
It's I love the moment-to-moment gameplay.
I know that I'm the guy that will read the first page of a book and be like, nope, like I get it, but still.
So like the actual gameplay loop, I really enjoy. The exploration and the gameplay and all that is great. It's the story that I'm not sold on this whole time.
Yeah.
And also the music. I've learned that every time there is music, I'm just like, well, that's just annoying background noise. I don't need that right now. And it's not bad music. It's just very like generic Hollywood movie music, which doesn't really do anything for me. And a lot of the characters are annoying. But the acting and the mocap is much better in this one. And the thing is, I want to say that it's like a next gen game, but I can't tell if it's a next gen game or if it's just an additional 5 years worth of game design and development.
Right.
Because they have learned tricks and how to make a better game and all that
and
stuff.
Plus a game that was, pretty early on in the PS5 and I feel I feel like Forbidden West was pretty touted as like, hey, this is kind of like a good look what the PS5 can do kind of game.
And it is cross-gen. There's a PS4 version as well.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yeah. I know because when I powered up my PS4 the other day, it was like, you own this. Do you want to download it?
Wow. I didn't think Sony was supporting the PS4 anymore. It's so old and blocky now. I just assume they dropped it.
Right. But no, it's one thing I will say about it is there are times when when I'm near a shore and I'm seeing the waves crash against the shore that I'm like, wow, this is a beautiful next-gen experience. And then there are also times where I'll be shooting at a hawk or a pig or something, And as soon as I hit it, it falls through the ground. Where I'm like, this is still a video game.
Yeah.
But the thing that I'm most impressed about is the accessibility options, because it has a ton of accessibility options. One of the things that bugged me the most about the first one was the menu screen had this ambient background music that was like this. It's supposed to sound like a tribal chorus kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it was at exactly a tone where it like gave me some sort of weird tinnitus for the rest of the day. Every time I'd play it, I would just hear that tone everywhere.
Yeah.
And this one, when I went into the options, when I first turned on the game, one of the options is tinnitus sounds on off. And I have no idea what that means.
Great.
But I mean, obviously turned it off.
What upsets me is that means they knowingly put in a sound that triggers tinnitus.
No, what I think it's supposed to be for is for explosions. I think it's supposed to be when you see an explosion in the game, it does like that ringing. Yeah. That's what I assume it's supposed to be for, but it made me think about that sound from the first game. I was like, I hope this turns that shit off.
Did it?
Oh, yeah. There's no sound like that in this game, and it's great.
Okay. Well, that's good.
It's very good. But no, there's just a ton of accessibility options between colorblind settings and gameplay settings and difficulty settings. And one of the things that I've really, really appreciated was one of my big complaints about the first game was just how much combat there is, which I get. It's a game about hunting. There should be a lot of combat.
Right.
But it was just like every mission in the game was, go kill a bunch of people over here. And then there's going to be a bunch of robots over here and kill robots to get to more people and then kill some people to get to more robots.
Yeah. So standard Tuesday.
Right. It was just constant murder. It was just a murder fest. Mostly murdering robots, but also murdering people. Mm-hmm. And in the second game, there's a lot more of these puzzle areas, which I really enjoy. It's a lot of exploration and jumping puzzles and platforming and stuff, which is great. But in the accessibility options, because one of the abilities you get really early in both games is one that lets you temporarily slow down time while you're aiming, just so that you can line up your shot a little better.
Yeah.
And one of the accessibility options is the amount of time that ability lasts, and it's you can set it to 2x longer or 5x longer or 10x longer or indefinitely.
So you have it on indefinite?
No, I have it on 5x right now, and I found that's enough for me because it does slow it down enough that I can actually aim and not get overwhelmed by everybody moving.
Yeah.
And it makes all of the combat just so much more enjoyable for me. But I did have a friend of mine come over, the one that took me to the shelter she used to work at to get the cat. And she had already played through the game on PS5. And she was like, I haven't, because she doesn't have access to a PS5 anymore right now. She was like, can I play for a little bit? And I was like, yeah, go to town, just roam around and explore shit. And she was like, why is it slowing down so much? Why is it so slow every time I aim? And I was like, I'm sorry, I have it on stupid kid mode.
Yeah, I'm sorry, were children playing this? What is going on?
And she was like, I'm sorry, I thought a baby gamer lived here.
Yeah, were actual infants playing your PlayStation Saturn?
Yeah. So she gave me some hell about it, but I was like, I don't care. I'm enjoying the game so much more than the first one now, so deal with it.
Well, and I like, it's a cinematic game. And it bothers me when cinematic games don't give you accessibility options to increase how cinematic they are. Yeah. Because you instantly getting, like, fucking headshotted is not a cinematic moment.
No.
And I get that some games are more competition-focused or skill-focused, and that's fine. But for a game that is very much like, hey, this is a very cinematic experience, give me those options.
And one thing I'll say is it does not do any of the dumb cinematic bullshit from the first one where you make a clearly scripted jump that you can't fail, and it slows down to show how dramatic of a jump it is. It hasn't done that once yet, and I appreciate that, because that was the dumbest shit.
I did get to play a PS5 for the first time last weekend. My friend brought his to our weekend getaway.
Yeah, the controller's comfortable.
I played some of that Astro's Playroom. I don't love the ergonomics of the controller. I don't hate them. It wasn't. They weren't like exceptional to me. It was just like, it's okay.
I like it. I think it's pretty good.
I did discover Because I remember you talking about the adaptive triggers, and I was playing Astro's Playroom because he brought Deathloop and Final Fantasy VII. I was like, well, I played Final Fantasy VII, and I'm not super interested in Deathloop, but I want to play Astro's Playroom.
Yeah.
And the first thing that I did that needed the triggers was when you go up to that big capsule machine and you have to push the trigger down to pull the thing. But I didn't have any money for it. I didn't know that I needed money for it. And so the triggers like block you out, so you can only push them down a little bit. And I realized how how much I manhandle controllers.
You just push past it.
The very first thing I did was mash it all the way down. And I was like, why isn't this working? And then I'm mashing them both all the way down. And then I go do something else, and I'm like, oh, these triggers are way easier to press now. So my big, dumb fucking gorilla hands just pushed right through all the technology.
Yeah, the first time that it threw the adaptive triggers at me, I just thought, like, maybe this is a shallow trigger compared to what I'm used to, despite the fact that I had just been using them for something else. And then when it pushed past, I was like, I can do that.
I literally just jammed right past it, and I was like, oh, I guess I'm not supposed to do that. With my 10-pound index
hands.
fingers.
Nice.
Anyway,
that's probably the most impressive tech in the controller, and apparently it doesn't affect you at all because you just jam past it.
Also, I'm just gonna say it. The PS5 looks fucking stupid.
Yeah, the console itself looks really dumb.
It just looks dumb as like you know it's gonna be big.
Yeah,
and it's not the size because I have big electronics.
Right.
It's having
size
something
plus the shape.
It's having something that over-designed and also that large. It just looks like the fucking car Homer Simpson designed. You're like, it's just too much, man.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. I was prepared for it to be large. I wasn't prepared for it to be that much larger than my Series X.
Yeah. And I think, honestly, because we were talking about this last week, and I was like, if they had put in a more sleek design intentionally, because like just the panels on the side do nothing and are huge.
Yeah, they're enormous.
Like honestly, if they had just gone for a more sleek design, it would be probably pretty close to the size of the Series X, honestly.
Yeah.
But it's so over designed. It looks ridiculous.
I did see one guy, because a lot of people paint their fins on their PS5 because you can remove them because they sell replacement ones in different colors.
Just spray paint them.
Yeah, and people will remove them and spray paint them or airbrush them or whatever. And one guy painted his so it looked like the collars on Kiryu's shirt. So it was like the PS5 was just popping its collar there.
That's good.
Yeah,
let's do the news.
Oh, okay. We're doing a show.
We are doing a show, yeah. I forgot too, and I was like, oh shit, we got to get the news out of the way. Kickstarter game Untamed Isles has had to halt its production because they lost all their money on crypto investments.
Oh.
What? That's never happened.
Did you read this one?
No.
So it's supposed to be like Pokemon meets crypto was their whole premise that they pitched on Kickstarter.
Oh, can I just tell you that there are several of those?
I know. And they're like any little creatures you catch will be on the blockchain or whatever, you know.
Yup.
And part of their investment or part of their whole premise was the game was going to be on some cryptocurrency, and that cryptocurrency completely tanked. And they apparently never even factored in that could have happened and are left without any money to continue development. Yeah.
So
they gained 500,000 on Kickstarter, and they have none of it
put
now.
All of it in crypto.
Yeah.
Instead of keeping at least some to live on and develop the game.
Yeah. Well, they hired more people and started paying them in crypto, and then they had no crypto.
Man,
yeah.
I feel like in 10 years, being paid in crypto is going to be like when people talk about getting paid in exposure.
Yeah.
It's going to be the same.
Yeah. Or being paid in debit cards.
Or Jeffrey dollars. Although, you know what? I looked it up on eBay. The conversion rate of a Jeffrey dollar to the US dollar, Jeffrey dollars are up. Okay, yeah, I'm just saying.
That's good.
So, you know,
I should have taken that guy up on it. He always offered to pay me back my debts in Jeffrey dollars right after Toys R Us stopped issuing them.
Done it.
Yeah.
Sega is working on feature films based on Comics Zone and Space Channel 5. Sega. You have so many better properties.
You know what? I would watch both of those movies. I'm just going to say that. I want to see what they're going to do with them.
Make a fucking Yakuza movie.
What?
A Yakuza movie.
Is that some kind of Comic Zone spinoff?
God damn it. Comics Zone. Takashi Tokita said that Live Alive, Live Alive's remake happened due to Nintendo's insistence on releasing the game on Virtual Console.
Yeah. So apparently Square Enix was basically just willing to let the game have died back on the Super Famicom and ignore that it ever happened. And Nintendo kept pushing them, saying, we want this on Virtual Console, on Wii or Wii U. And finally it happened on Wii U, I believe, is when it finally came out on Virtual Console. And that was what convinced them that, there is at least some demand for this game. Maybe we should look into it.
And now Nintendo doesn't even want to put their own games on their services.
That's true, yeah.
So what
how times have changed.
Wii U emulator CMU gets an official Linux port and goes open source. So this is exciting.
Yeah.
So that you can play all those worse versions of Switch games, you know.
Also Virtual Console games.
Also Virtual Console games. Masahiro Sakurai has started a YouTube channel about game design.
And it's really neat. If you haven't watched it yet, you should check some of it out.
I've not yet, no. It's on my list.
And he is just pumping videos out too, man.
Well, because the man is a workaholic. If there's one thing we know about him, it's that he is a workaholic for no reason.
Yeah, he did already do a video about the design of Kirby's Adventure and some of the things that they were thinking about when they designed it. And that was fascinating to me because I love that game.
Yeah. Denuvo has announced that they will support the Switch so that publishers can add DRM to their Switch games.
Please fuck off, Denuvo.
Right. Or you know what? Don't fuck off, but function. Just function. Just don't fuck everything up.
Yeah, right.
It would be less offensive if it wasn't, in addition to being DRM, but also shitty DRM that breaks stuff in Hog's resources and doesn't work right half the fucking time.
I'm waiting for the first retail Switch game to come out that doesn't work for paying customers on Switch, but still inexplicably works for pirates on an emulator because the pirates removed Denuvo.
Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past has been decompiled and ported to PC. Please keep doing this.
Right.
This is my favorite.
I'm really excited to see what particularly the speedrunning community does with it, because they have hacked the fuck out of that game to make it so much better than it originally was. So I want to see what they can do with it now that they have basically a native port.
And finally, PlayStation 5 price is the PlayStation 5 price is increasing in several territories, not the US. Nintendo and Microsoft were quick to confirm that they were not raising prices.
Now, that being said, Nintendo kind of already has raised their prices because the OLED Switch costs more than the original Switch cost when it came out.
Yes.
And the original Switch is 5 years old and has seen no price drop.
Yeah.
So the fact that the primary Switch that they sell now is $50 more than the original was 5 years ago, they kind of already did raise their prices.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of them raising the price of the PS5.
Like, first of all,
it was already overpriced.
As far as I know, people still can't fucking get the thing.
All right. Well, it's becoming slightly more apparent available lately. Is what I'm hearing.
They also didn't they just increase the price of PlayStation Plus or add a bunch of tiers, or
they added a bunch of tiers.
Okay, so they segged it. They added a big fucking chart with all the shit on it.
Exactly. Yeah.
I did go when I was on my friend's PS5. I went to the PlayStation Store to see like what is PlayStation Plus like, just to see how they present those services. I could not fucking figure it out.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I was staring at a big fucking chart they had, and I was like, I don't understand what is happening.
And it doesn't help that when you look at games on PS Plus now, instead of just telling you the price, it'll be like available on PS Plus Extra. And I'm like, well, I don't want PS Plus Extra. I want to know how much this game costs.
Yes.
And that's frustrating.
Yes. And that brings us to the topic at hand. This week we are doing Hidden Gems PSP.
We're going to sing the praises of Sony because the PlayStation brand will never fall.
Sony. As far as synopsis, back when Sony tried to compete with the Nintendo DS.
The what?
The Nintendo DS.
I'm sorry, I must have forgotten that one because of how successful the PSP was.
The Nintendo Dual Screen, as it was known. Yeah. That's
I thought it was developer system.
Yeah. Well, that's the DS. That's what the developers got. They got Nintendo DS.
You remember when Nintendo tried to say it stood for developer system?
No, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
Oh, yeah. No, they were saying, well, it's such a developer-friendly system. The DS stands for developer system.
You remember when to review first-party DS games, Nintendo would send like a big fucking briefcase with a DS chained to it that they had to leave in the offices at the various magazines?
Oh,
and they would like glue the fucking game into the DS?
At least they didn't solder the game in there.
I'm just glad they didn't handcuff a person to it and be like, you must protect this with your life.
Just imagining some Maxwell Smart looking guy with a briefcase with a DS in it.
I remember listening to a reviewer bitch about reviewing DS games. He's like, I love DS games, but holy shit, I hate playing on the fucking chained together briefcase that we have to. It's like using a pin at a bank.
Nice.
Anyway, as far as like scope and format and first experiences, I loved the PSP. I bought a PSP either at or damn near launch, and I just played the crap out of it in my last 2 years of high school, which is when it came out. I was convinced this was the future of gaming, because you got to keep in mind this is the pre-smartphone era,
right.
Just barely.
Yeah.
And it had web browsing, and I could watch UMD movies on it. It was the first like multimedia device that wasn't like a full-blown computer,
right,
that I ever owned. It was incredible. And I spent many hours with the system. I played tons of launch stuff. I also worked at a game store at the time, so I would check out and rent lots of games from there. And I played a freaking ton of PSP, and it was a blast. And I loved the PSP. It's my favorite.
I got my PSP a year or two after it came out, after the first price drop. And I did enjoy it. It was a great little system, and I used the web browser on it a ton.
Yeah.
But I couldn't afford a ton of games on it, so I mostly stuck to safe stuff from like mostly Final Fantasy games, to be honest, and Silent Hill and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I missed out on a lot of the weird stuff. So I'm really worried that a lot of the things that I put on this list are just way too common, and that people will be like, "That's not hidden. You're dumb."
I mean, here's the thing about the PSP is that I wouldn't say it was wildly successful in America.
Right. It did well.
I think it did okay. Yeah. I think, as is the problem in all markets, it's not about how well you're doing. It's about how well you're doing comparatively.
Right.
But I do think,
and compared to the Vita, it did great.
Yeah. And so I think the PSP it did well enough that Sony wanted to put all their eggs in the PSP Go basket.
Right.
And that fucking
for a few months anyway.
I wanted a PSP Go so bad.
Oh, you were the one.
I wanted it so bad.
I did not. I wanted nothing to do with
it flipped up. How cool is that?
It had no
was like
UMD
yeah, but I had a ton of digital games at the time.
I did not. I was not willing to invest in anything that didn't have physical media.
I had a ton of digital because mine went everywhere with me, and when it goes everywhere with you, having UMDs fucking sucks. Because I had the little UMD case that was like shaped like a PSP, and it was like a clamshell, and it opened up and had like 2 or 3 pages. But UMDs are pretty big.
See,
they're
I'd
like
already
the size
hacked
of a
my
Game Boy
PSP
game.
and ripped all my UMDs to the system by the time the Go came out.
Yeah.
So I had them digitally, but I didn't purchase them digitally.
No, I had a lot of both. I had a lot of physical. I had a lot of digital. In a lot of the when I borrowed stuff from work, it was UMD, so that took up even more space. Yeah. And so I had a lot of digital stuff. Anyway. Well, I forgot what my point was, but the PSP was incredible. It was an incredible device, and it got a lot of really weird shit.
That's true, yeah.
Tons
and
of
a lot of that
shit.
weird shit came out outside of Japan, which was strange and different at the time.
Even weirder, yeah. I do. Yeah, it lost some of its luster once smartphones came around. But man, it was incredible. I played so much weird shit on the PSP. So I guess we can just get into our picks.
Yeah.
My first choice is Patapon.
I love Patapon.
Which feels really obvious to me because they made fucking 3 of them.
Did they?
Yeah, there's 3 Patapons.
Oh, shit. Did you get to the point in Astro's Playroom where they reference Patapon?
No, I played for like half an hour, maybe, probably less than that. It was probably more like 20 minutes.
There's some adorable references to PSP games in Astro.
Yeah. Patapon was co-developed by Pyramid and Japan Studio. Japan Studio being a Sony first party,
right.
Published by Sony in 2007, 2008, depending on region. And it's the you know what I've realized? I like really weird RTS concepts because I love Odama. Yeah. Odama's the coolest fucking idea ever to me. And I had never played Patapon until like literally for this show. I was like, you know what I've never played that looks weird is Patapon. Never played any of those.
That one's a good one.
So I played all of these PSP games on PPSSPP on my deck, which first of all runs fantastic.
What a great emulator that is.
Oh man, PPSSPP is phenomenal. It's controller friendly. It runs great on deck. I have no hitches,
and it has a beautiful interface too.
Oh yeah. So and the games look great. They look way better than they ever did on the PSP. Oh, yeah. I can tell you that much.
Definitely.
But Patapon is a mixture rhythm game and side-scrolling RTS.
Yes, that's right.
You put in different drum beats that the game teaches to you to instruct your troops to move forward or attack. I assume they add other abilities either later in that game or later in other games. And so you're like, oh, I want them to move. I know to put in the move song, and you pound it out on your little drum beat, which is your face buttons. And between sessions, your Patapons can go hunting for food to make more troops. You get gear upgrades, and you actually upgrade individual units inside of your little groups of units. And it's just so weird, and it's so fun, and it's so charming because the Patapons themselves talk to you directly. You're the great Patapon that is directing them around this battlefield, and they're very excited for you to be here for them. But they're also really snarky, and they say shit because once it's kind of hard to get the flow of the game. Yeah. But once you get it down, you it's kind of like watching a movie because you're like, all right, I want them to move forward. So you're just rhythmically putting in the go forward thing and then watching them go and seeing what they say and seeing what happens. And you don't ever pick like, oh, attack this unit or whatever. You just move forward or attack. That's all you do. And so you spend a lot of time watching them. And like when you mess up the beat, one of them always goes, this is terrible. Can I go home now? You're like, shut the fuck up, little Patapon. Just throw your stupid spear, you jerk. But it's just really cute, really charming. I was having a blast with it. I'm curious what the what the other 2 games in the trilogy add. Because I imagine they can't add that many songs or it's got to get unwieldy, you know, because it teaches you the songs up front and then you just have to remember them. Right. Which it's like 4 button press song and it's 2 buttons. So it's like, I think square, 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 circle is move forward and circle, circle, square, circle is attack. Those are the only 2 things you got to know. But it's really good. Like as an RTS, it's fun building your units up, individually upgrading them, getting new stuff. It's a cute little story. It's such a fun, cute
There's
game.
also a port of it to PS4, by the way. If you want to play it in full HD, it is on PS4.
Oh man, I had a great time with Patapon.
Yeah. For me in my head, the like signature games of the PSP are Patapon, Loco Roco, and Lumines. For some reason, those are the 3 that always are in my head anytime I think of the PSP.
I realized what it was is I played Loco Roco, I think a port of it or something. Was it ported, or am I thinking of something else?
I don't know. It might have ended up on PS2 at one point.
I played Loco Roco, and I didn't love it. And for years, I thought Loco Roco was Patapon. I thought they were the same game, you know, because they kind of look similar-ish.
Yeah, they have a similar art style, yeah.
Yeah, and so in my head, I was conflating them, and I was like, oh, I don't like that. I don't like Patapon. I played Patapon, and like Loco Roco is the one that I played, and I didn't love. And so now I'm kicking myself for not playing Patapon for all these years.
See, I also enjoyed Loco Roco, and it looks like that one was not on PS2. It was on PS4, just like
well, there
Patapon.
You go. Yeah. So what's your first pick?
So I went with Me and My Katamari, which feels obvious to me.
It does, yeah.
But it's just such a good port. It was one of the first games I got on my PSP, and I absolutely loved it. And first of all, I was just so impressed that there was Katamari that I could play on a handheld.
Yes. Now you do have to move with the D-pad and the face buttons, right?
Correct. Yeah.
So, and that's a little awkward to get used to.
It is, and I don't remember if it was the manual for the game or if it was a review that I read that said just tape quarters over your D-pad and face buttons, and they'll feel like analog sticks. And sure enough, they do.
Yeah,
they fit perfectly over a PSP's D-pad and face buttons, and it kind of makes it feel like an analog. I only did that a couple of times just for the novelty.
It seems like it would scratch it up.
It didn't. I didn't notice any real issue there. Of course, the tape may have been,
if you got kind of greasy hands, the front of the PSP is real slick and the buttons are real slick, so you can just kind of slide your greasy thumbs over them, and it works pretty good.
I spent so many years playing Smash TV on the Super NES using the D-pad and face buttons.
You were ready.
Right. So I was already used to that dual analog control being
I was playing twin stick games before there were sticks.
Right. So I knew what I was in for. And no, it's a great port. It's kind of in between the first two PS2 Katamari games as far as gameplay, and it's got a lot of the music tracks from both of them. So it's worth checking out, but I don't know how well it would hold up compared to the PS2 games. And so if you're not playing it on a PSP, I don't know if it'd be worth emulating. But if you do have a PSP, it's worth just having a portable version of it.
This is an issue that a lot of the downgrade ports of games have kind of run into, like Me and My Katamari, or like I had another one in my head, but games that there are other versions in handheld form now that are superior. Like, would you want to play Me and My Katamari on a PSP, or would you want to just play Katamari on a Nintendo Switch?
Right.
Exactly. And there were a lot of these like kind of functional ports to stuff like the DS and the Wii and the PSP, where they
even the GBA, like that port of Street Fighter Alpha 3, is incredibly impressive for a GBA game. Yeah. But in retrospect, it doesn't have enough buttons to play Street Fighter Alpha 3.
Yeah, like there were a ton of SOCOM games on the PSP, but why would you play those? Right. Especially these days when you can pretty much play PS2 portably on anything that has any kind of processing power. So yeah, you get into kind of that weird territory where it's like, no, it's probably not better than one of the PS2 ones or one of the ports of the newer version of Katamari. But it was good. I remember it being good.
Yeah, and it also had a sound player mode where you could basically turn off the screen of your PSP and keep playing the soundtrack as if it was a portable music player. Yeah. And that was nice on the go.
I will say the PSP was the only time the cross-media bar made sense. Because the XMB on the PSP is great because at the time we did use it as a multimedia device.
I did.
And I did. Oh, man, I did. I put all sorts of shit on there.
I had a couple of DVD rips on there and then the games. That was it. That was the only things I had on
there. My next one is Claudune X2.
I have not heard of this one.
This was developed by System Prisma, published by NIS America 2010. So Claudune there's three of them. There's a Sengoku themed one, and then there's Claudune 1 and then X2. It's this like super cute pixel art action adventure game. Gameplay wise, it's like Zelda-y with RPG systems. It lets you fully customize your main character, like pixel by pixel.
Nice.
The sequel, X2, lets you fully customize, I believe, weapons. And I think you also get to customize the main boss of the game. And the story is mostly non-existent, and the dungeons are either fully or partially randomly generated. And it's just a really nice, light, fun action RPG on the PSP, because the problem with PSP RPGs is that they suffered from a lot of that PS2 era JRPG design, where they're very front-loaded and very tutorial heavy.
Yeah.
And on a portable where you're playing for like 20 minutes at a time, that sucks.
They also all want to spend 30 minutes telling you their story at the beginning.
Yes. And so just getting in, so like the PSP is a fantastic RPG system.
Yes.
but sometimes getting in the door on some of these things takes for fucking ever.
That's why I liked the ports of Final Fantasy 1 and 2 and 4 on there, because they were older games, so they had that older design ethos, so they didn't just spend so long telling you how to play.
Like, damn near every PSP game has you type in your name at the beginning of it. Like the designers were just so enthralled
that there was
with the tools they had available.
Yeah, they were like, "Do you know there's an OS level keyboard?"
Yeah. Oh my god. And so Claudune was for a long time, and I honestly don't remember if I played the first one or the second one. But just going by feature sets, it does seem like the second one is the better of the two. And I hear the PC port sucks really bad. So if you want to play it, I don't have experience, but I've heard the PC port of Claudune X2 and Sengoku sucks.
That's a shame. At least you can emulate the PSP version on a PC.
There you go, on PPSSPP.
Exactly.
And it was just kind of like a fun fix for me when I just wanted to like stab stuff and make numbers go up and feel like I was playing an RPG without having to sit through like 4.5 hours of fucking dialogue. And then, the anime cutscenes. PSP loves doing its anime cutscenes. Yeah. And so you have to sit through, all right, I got to put my name in. I got to sit through an anime cutscene. I got to do the intro, anime cutscene, short gameplay segment, straight into tutorial.
Right.
And it was just nice. It was just a fun, easy, light RPG that you could just kind of dive into.
Nice.
Yeah. What do you got?
Next, I will do Half Minute Hero.
I was going to put this on my list if you didn't. Oh, man.
It's such a
what
good
a game.
It's just... So, real quick, developed by Opus and published by Marvelous Exceed in May of 2009 in Japan and October of 2009 in the rest of the world. So, it's just a deconstruction of RPGs. Tropes and JRPG tropes specifically, and it tasks you with saving the world in 30 seconds. That said, there's constantly ways that you can extend your timer by going to Pray at the Goddess statue, I think it is.
Yeah, it's like the gameplay is like a side-scrolling action kind of affair. Yeah,
so you have like your overworld, like in most JRPGs. But anytime you get into a battle, it's just your dude running to the right and enemies running to the left.
Yes.
And if you run left, then you just run from the battle. And if you run forward, you drain HP, but you do more damage. And then anytime you heal, it also resets your 30-second timer. And I believe on easy mode, if you're in town, the timer is paused. But there's, what is it, like 30 different quests that you go on, and each time it's somebody about to destroy the world, and then you stop them, you save the world, ending credits, move on to the next one, somebody else about to destroy the world, and it's just ridiculous because the writing in it is hilarious.
This era of JRPG design, in addition to being very, it's kind of coming right out of that PS2 era, just timeline-wise when the PSP came out. There was also, the PSP seems very laden with things that want to make fun of JRPGs.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it seemed to be
great.
It seemed to be the peak of that era where they wanted to make fun of all the JRPGs. And it's also correlates with the time when consoles were seeing way less JRPGs than they previously had, because the end of the PS2 era, into the PS3, Xbox 360 era, JRPGs kind of hit a lull where there just weren't that many of them, except for on handhelds, and the ones that were out there often were deconstructing it.
Yeah, and you did see a ton of I realized this is why I never felt like there was a break in RPGs.
They just moved to handhelds for a while.
Because when the PSP and DS were out, those were like my main systems.
Yeah.
Like by far. And there's tons of RPGs on those.
Yeah, right.
GBA too,
Yeah, absolutely.
There's also the PC port of Half Minute Hero is really good. And there's a sequel that's also really good.
Yeah, and it was also on PSP, but I don't know if it came out in the US on PSP.
Yeah, I think only the original, but on PC they're both out. And also, I think they're together, aren't they? Isn't it like one package?
No,
or maybe am I misremembering? Is it separate?
Now you can also get the first one, the remake of it, on Xbox 360, which is actually how I first played it before I went back and played the PSP version.
Yeah.
And I believe that one still plays on current Xboxes as well.
My third pick is ZHP Unlosing Ranger versus Dark Death Evil Man.
You're just making up words now.
Which is fucking fantastic. I've been playing it all week. I forgot how good it is.
Let me ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
Why is it? And I'm not disagreeing with this. why is it that name is okay? Because it is. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
But Revengeance absolutely is not. Because it's not. Because it's stupid.
Because Revengeance is stone cold serious. And this whole game is a fucking joke.
Okay.
Making fun of itself.
Because just that title, I'm like, that's hilarious. I like that. But when I look at Revengeance, I'm like, that's stupid. You people are stupid.
So this was, again, developed and published by Nipponichi. This was 2010. Nipponichi was just on fire on the PSP.
Oh, yeah. Really, I would say PS2 into PSP.
True.
Nipponichi was just on it.
ZHP is a kind of mystery dungeon roguelike style game that's themed entirely around tokusatsu. And it's fully aware of how stupid and ridiculous and asinine it is.
Nice.
So this is only spoiling the first 2 minutes of the game.
Mm-hmm.
Dark Death Evil Man shows up, and Unlosing Ranger is on his way to stop him when he gets unwittingly struck by a car and dies.
That happens sometimes.
And as he's dying on the sidewalk, he finds the first passerby and is like, "Here, you take the Unlosing Ranger transmorpher belt, whatever fucking thing. Now you have to defeat Dark Death Evil Man."
And then he dies.
And immediately you die. Yeah, you show up and you're like, okay, I guess I'll fight him. And they kill you instantly.
Nice.
Thankfully, Dark Death Evil Man is held off by Super Baby, who is an infant baby with superpowers.
That's good.
While you go to Bizarro Earth on the other side of the sun and train to be Unlosing Ranger. And it's very much roguelike mystery dungeon style thing. There's progress loss when you die, but you do gain permanent static levels that you get to keep.
Nice.
And if you make it out of the dungeon, you can bank your items. You can turn your items into power-ups for yourself. I would definitely say it's more mystery dungeon than roguelike. If you die, you do definitely lose stuff, but it's not that brutal, everything's gone feeling. And what I love about this is equipping every item you equip physically changes your hero character. My favorite leg item to equip is tank treads. So suddenly my feet is a tank because then traps won't hurt you because they can't stab through your tank treads. And it's just really fun. And after each chapter, they go, "Hey, do you want to go fight Dark Death Evil Man? Are you strong enough?" And if you do, every time you beat a chapter and go back, the Dark Death Evil Man fight is a turn-based JRPG battle. And each time you go back, it's successively it goes from 8-bit to 16-bit, and it just keeps going up graphically. And it's just really fun. It makes fun of RPGs. It makes fun of tokusatsu. It makes fun of video games. It's lots of characters, lots of story, lots of dialogue. And it's just really fun and silly and goofy, and it's so good. It came out and literally nobody noticed it. Nipponichi just re-released it in a 2-pack with Makai Kingdom, which is also a phenomenal game that got a PSP port but is fan translated, never came out in the US. And the Makai Kingdom and ZHP on the PC and Switch and whatever ports, it's literally just the ROMs with nothing else.
Nice.
So I would recommend buying that because I want them to see those games supported, and then please go play them on an emulator because they suck on that version.
That's a shame.
It's a bad, it's not a bad port. It's just literally the same.
I just went to Nipponichi's website to see what system it was on. Yeah. And their website still says pre-order now and then shows the release date as May of 2022.
Yeah, they did. Nipponichi very kindly sent me a copy of the Switch version of Makai Kingdom and ZHP, and I just didn't talk about it because it's just you can't even go back to the menu once you pick a game. You can't even go back to the menu to pick a different game.
That's a shame.
I don't think. Actually, maybe you could. Maybe Makai Kingdom there was a version, an ability to switch game, but you have to get back to the main menu. Anyway, it's just the laziest possible port. But the game is fantastic. ZHP is a free, even if you don't like tokusatsu, if you don't like Power Rangers, or actually maybe even if you hate them, it would be great because the whole thing is about how fucking dumb they are.
Nice.
It's just a blast, and it's a pretty good translation that's actually funny and actually fun to sit through.
Nice.
Highly recommended. What's your third pick here?
So I'm gonna cheat and just say anything by Falcom because they released a shit ton of things on the system.
That is cheating.
I know. But no, I was fighting myself because I really just wanted to say Ys 3 because Ys 3 is really great on the PSP.
Yeah.
But I also want to give credit where credit is due because Falcom just released a ton of just gold on there. But don't play Ys 6 on PSP. It's bad. Konami fucked it up.
Is that Oath and Felghana?
That's Ark of Napishtim.
Okay.
Oath and Felghana is a fantastic port.
Okay.
That's Ys 3.
I played my first Ys game I ever played. I didn't even know what it was. It was Ys 7.
Oh, yeah, that one's a little different.
And I bought it and I was like, I don't think I like Ys. And I didn't know that it was the weird one.
Yeah, it is a little weird. Well, it's not even weird because all of them since then have been built on 7's engine.
Yeah.
Because 8, 9, and Salsetta are all based on the Ys 7 engine. But it is a little weird compared to everything before it because prior to Ys 7, you didn't have a party. It was just Adol.
Yeah.
And
I do remember thinking like, this is so, like what turned me off was the high level of complexity.
Yeah. Because I agree.
It's not something that previous Ys games are really super known for.
Yeah.
But I was playing 7 and I was like, man, this is just way too much to keep up with.
Yeah, it is a lot. But Oath and Felghana, as well as the ports of Ys 1 and 2, all great. The Trails in the Sky games are great on there, even if you can't get them all in English natively. Also, Trails from Zero and Trails to Azure both have good fan translations. But really, just play Oath and Felghana. It doesn't even matter what system you play it on. If it's PSP or PC or other, you should play Oath and Felghana. That's a game you should play. It's excellent.
Yeah. My next one is Deadhead Fred. And it is because I wanted to...
It's a movie with Yahoo
No, that's
Serious.
Drop Dead Fred.
My bad.
Which I watched that movie at least 500 times.
Was that Yahoo Serious? I can't remember.
I don't know who Yahoo Serious is because I was fucking born in 88. I just know the name.
It looks like it was not Yahoo Serious. My bad. Sorry, Yahoo Serious.
Deadhead Fred was developed by Vicious Cycle Software, published by D3 in 07. It is I wanted to include at least one third-person action game because there's a ton of them on PSP. And
also because everyone else that I know with the PSP, anytime I mention the system, only thinks there were third-person action games on it and racing games.
There's an insane amount of them, and most of them are fucking terrible because there is no second stick to control the goddamn camera.
Yeah.
So they suck. Most of them at best, you're like, oh, it's okay. I wish I had a stick for the camera, but it's okay. Deadhead Fred is the only one that I played that like I didn't miss not having camera controls, and they don't even really do anything that dramatically different. It just kind of has like a smarter camera. So basically, Deadhead Fred is a resurrected private investigator who was decapitated, but a scientist kept his brain and eyeballs and put him in a jar on top of his shoulders.
Oh.
And the whole game is like very who's the people that did Psychonauts? What's the dude's name?
Tim
Schafer.
Yeah, Tim Schafer.
Yeah. It's very like Tim Schafer-esque sort of humor, but like a little bit more crass. And it's like this sort of horror meets noir type story. It's really goofy and dumb. But the whole gimmick of the game is that during gameplay, Fred can switch to one of the mini heads he's collected that impart different abilities in kind of a Mickey's Magical Quest, but horror kind of mechanic. And it's really fun. It's just a good third-person action game that you can switch heads, and the story is, relatively entertaining and funny. Nice. And there's a lot of voice acting, and it's good. Like as far as like third-person action games on PSP go, it's one of the good ones.
Nice.
I found it easier to play and funnier than Death Jr., which is often propped up as like a really good third-person action game on PSP. And I went back to Death Jr. and played some Death Jr. and I was like, yeah, Deadhead Fred is kind of better.
Nice.
I enjoyed it more. Also, only ever on PSP, so still on PSP, not anywhere else.
I'd always wanted to pick up Death Jr. too, so...
Death Jr. was good. It was much more story heavy than I expected it to be. And so that was kind of a turnoff. Didn't Death Jr. eventually get a DS port?
I think so, or a sequel or something.
Yeah, because I had a Death Jr. Stylus for my DS, and it was a scythe.
Yeah, it looks like there was a sequel on DS.
Oh, that must be it. Yeah. There's a sequel on PSP. There are two Death Juniors on PSP.
Yeah, that was all 3 games in the series, looks like. I always like to pull up Death Jr. as a joke on Silent Hill forums whenever somebody is saying, this news report says Konami is about to revive some some beloved classic series, I always like to say, oh, it's Death Jr., isn't it?
Here it comes. Death Jr. is big for like a hot minute there.
Yeah.
You know, what's your fourth pick?
So I'm going to go with Valkyrie Profile, which is
yes,
just such a great game. Really play it on PS1 or PSP, but the PSP version is better. And it's about to get an emulated release on PS4 and PS5 as well, in case you want to play a PSP game in 4K on your PS5.
I don't know why Valkyrie Profile is one of those games that I've started like 5 or 6 times, and I literally don't even make it through the first cutscene.
It's because the intro is so long and boring. That's the answer. I'm gonna
there you go.
Let you know right now. That first hour and a half of the game is so dry.
Hour and a half?
It's really dry.
Oh,
Fortunately,
God.
it doesn't do the Dragon Quest VII thing where there's no interaction during that time.
At least Dragon Quest VII is cute.
Yeah, that's true.
You know, that's the.
So it does let you fight. It does let you, walk around and do shit. It's just really kind of boring at that first part, just because it's trying to introduce the world, because you're a Valkyrie and you're supposed to help people kind of avenge their life and all this shit as they're entering the afterlife.
Yeah.
And you're collecting basically souls. They might still be alive. I don't know. Maybe they're dying. I don't remember. Anyway, the point is, it's a bunch of dead people, and you're letting them redeem themselves while also just being this really solid action JRPG that is got a fantastic soundtrack and Norse mythology, which is something I think needs to have better representation in video games.
Yeah.
And it's just so well done, so well written. And the PSP version has a lot of added features that weren't in the PS1 game, and a slightly cleaned up translation. So if you're going to play a version, I do recommend the PSP one. It has worse load times, but it makes up for it in the rest of the game. It did get a port to Android and iOS, which is, I guess, if you want to play a game on your phone, it's fine. But I would prefer to use a gamepad.
The way you phrased it. If you want to play a game on your phone, I can't legally stop you, but if I could, I would.
I'm not allowed to stop you. I want to. I really want to. But no, it's just such a great game. If you haven't played Valkyrie Profile somewhere, you should play it. And if you've got a PSP, you should play it there.
My final pick is, I think it definitively is my all-time favorite PSP game.
Yeah.
It's so good. It is so good. It is called What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord 2.
I almost bought this so many times, and let me tell you, the stupid reason I didn't buy it was because I was afraid I'd never find the first one.
The first one is on the UMD.
Oh, well, God damn it.
It's on the disc.
This whole time.
Developed by Acquire, who also worked on Tenchu and Octopath Traveler and a bunch of other shit. Published by, again, Nipponichi in 2008, 2010, depending on your region.
Yeah, it looks like Sony themselves published it in Japan. Nipponichi just translated.
This is the sequel to What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord? I never played or even saw the original because, again, as I found out, it's included on the disc.
It looks like there was a separate release of it, though.
In America?
Yeah, it was.
Weird.
Oh, sorry, it was download only in America.
Okay.
Only the first one is called Holy Invasion of Privacy Badman.
Yes, Holy Invasion of Privacy Badman, ! What did I do to deserve this, my lord, is the full title.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you go on Wikipedia, it literally says these games are basically identical. The second one just has more stuff in it.
Yeah.
So it's not, much of a sequel as much as it is like, here's a better version of it.
An improved version.
So, WDID-TDT-ML2 is a pixel art game where you dig a dungeon under the ground and wait for parties of adventurers to stumble in and hopefully get their faces stomped in. So it gives you a cross-section view.
Yeah.
And you show up and you are the like evil god, and Badman is like the person talking to you. Mm-hmm. And it's like you're looking like a Dig Dug style screen. There's a little town up on top and you can see all the dirt below, and you've got a little pickaxe that you can move around to crush blocks. Mm-hmm. And when you crush blocks with moss on them, slimes pop out. And as the slimes move around, they deposit nutrients that create a different kind of block, that you can then hatch, and it creates this little like bone monster that feeds on slimes.
I do know you love bone monsters.
I do. And then those things, eventually, if you leave the bone monster squares alone, they will eventually evolve into these little reptile creatures that come out that also feed on everything lower on the food chain.
Nice.
And there's a second resource that is not slime nutrient, and it is magic, and it has its own evolutionary chain, and they feed on the lower creatures. So you dig this dungeon, and as you are, your creatures are creating new blocks to hatch new monsters out of. Some of them are creating their own little societies in your dungeon, like the lizard people will have babies. And you have to worry about your ecosystem because they're eating each other, right? So you want to balance it so that, you have enough slimes to keep the ecosystem alive, but it doesn't crush out your slime population. Because as they're going and as they're exposed to different things in the dungeon, your various species will mutate into different versions of themselves that have different abilities. And then after each invasion of a party of JRPG characters that the game makes fun of the whole time, you can pay to upgrade specifically different ones that you have. And it's great. Some monsters, like eventually you can get dragons and demons. Different colored demons will fight each other, though. So you don't want to have them in the same portion of the dungeon, or if you do, you want to leave one in hell until the other one dies, and then you can bring it up. It's just so much fun. What I love about it is it's one of these kind of ecosystem constructing games, but you play a few levels in an area, and then you go back to ground zero. You go to the next zone. So it's not like you're trying to build this massive mega dungeon where you have to plan like 3 hours in advance where all your rooms and shit are going to be. And when the JRPG party shows up, Bad Man goes, oh shit, hide me in the dungeon. So you drag him to whatever room you think is the safest in the dungeon. And then you keep playing the game as you normally do as they're invading. But the thing is, they'll start tearing through your monsters, right? And you'll be like, oh shit, they destroyed all my slimes in this area. And you've got a bunch of blocks you were waiting to hatch into like a dragon or something later that's further in the dungeon. And you're like, well, they haven't even lost one dude. I'm going to go hatch those real quick and go break those blocks. But when you break the blocks, it makes your rooms bigger. And when your rooms get bigger, your monsters bump into the walls less often and thus deposit less nutrients into them. And so it really just plays out like one really big, complex, single-screen puzzle game. And it's just a fucking blast. It's very easy to start playing. It's very hard to master. It's very interesting. You get constant weird mutations and stuff. It's just, God, it's so much fun.
It sounds like an incredibly aggressive version of SimAnt.
I've never played SimAnt, so maybe. It's just so much fun, and the whole thing is like making fun of JRPGs again, which is really fun and interesting. It's just, God, it's a blast. I bought the physical of it for like $20 forever ago, nice. and I've been playing it on my deck, and it's just, it's so good. It's just the best.
Apparently, Sony is still releasing sequels to it too.
Are they?
Yeah, they
I had no idea.
They released a PSVR version of No Heroes Allowed, which is a spin-off series of it.
Yeah.
But there are also No Heroes Allowed games on PS4, PS5, PS Vita. So
I did not realize that those were sequels to this. Now I got to go play those.
Yeah.
Now I'm upset with myself for never bothering. I just assumed the game is called What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord 2. No one has fucking heard of it, and I just assumed it died.
Right. No, apparently Sony released them in Japan, and Nipponichi localized them. But after those first two, Sony just started releasing them themselves.
Man, it's so good. Yeah. Obviously, I've not played the later ones, but What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord 2 is my favorite PSP game.
Nice.
Bar none. It's great in short bursts, so it's awesome for a portable. It's funny. It's engaging. You don't have to wrestle with the fact that the PSP doesn't quite have the amount of controls that designers seem to think it has. It's just fantastic. My PSP theme is themed after they sold a PSP theme, and it's the only one I ever bought on the PlayStation Store. It's so good. It's fantastic. What's your final pick?
I was struggling to come up with something for my final pick, and I was looking through all of my PSP games, and I almost chose Summon Night 5 because it is weird and a lot of people haven't played it. But then I remembered I couldn't finish it because I was just kind of I found it kind of dull. So I didn't want to pick that. And then I thought about Wild Arms, but that's also not the best game in that series. So I caved in and went with the Darkstalkers collection on there. Darkstalkers Chronicle, which is a modified version of Darkstalkers 3 to incorporate characters from older games in the series.
I played this when it came out, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's called Chaos Tower, but Chaos Tower is a specialty mode in it, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
And if I don't remember any details, but I remember the Chaos Tower mode being a fucking blast.
Yeah. And honestly, I'm struggling to remember exactly what it is off the top of my head too.
I don't remember. I just remember being like, this is awesome.
I mostly played just multiplayer on it because the one other guy I knew with a PSP was also a Darkstalkers fan. So we just played a shit ton of Darkstalkers multiplayer on there.
While all those lame DS owners just got to talk to each other in PictoChat.
Right. Yeah. I also had a DS. Actually, I had my DS first. Anyway, but no, it's an excellent port of Darkstalkers 3, and it has extra characters, which was really all I wanted from it. And every time they have re-released Darkstalkers 3 since then, I get upset that it doesn't have all of the characters and features of the PSP release because they have yet to re-release that anywhere. So if you are a fan of the Darkstalkers series, I do recommend that you go hunt down this version of it and at least play it on an emulator to see all of the extra stuff that was added to it.
Yeah. As far as honorable mentions, we're over on time, so I'm just going to fire through some of them. Chameleon is a really cool puzzle game. Gunpei is a cool puzzle game. Yeah. Innocent Life is Harvest Moon, but sci-fi.
And Gunpei was the one that was ported from the WonderSwan, right?
I think so. I think it was. It feels like a WonderSwan game. It's still fun. I like Wild Arms XF. I believe the other Wild Arms are turn-based games, and this is a SRPG.
Right.
It's a pretty good SRPG, and it uses hexes, which are superior to squares. And I will always maintain that. It feels really obvious because it was a launch title, but the Untold Legends games are pretty fun, like Western-style action RPGs, if you like that. Killzone Liberation. I feel like people have forgotten about Killzone, but Killzone was like the big PlayStation FPS game.
The Killzone guys have been busy making Horizon games for the last 5 years. So
yeah, but on PSP, it's like a top-down game, and it's pretty fun. Death Jr. also, it's still on my list. It's still a pretty good, third-person action game. Of my honorable mentions, I probably enjoyed Chameleon and Wild Arms XF the most.
I don't have played Chameleon. I'll have to check that out.
Chameleon is very weird and very Japanese, and I would go through all the details of explaining how to play it, but it's so easy to play and also so hard to explain that I'm not going to do it. Just go look it up. Just go, you go figure it out.
Yeah.
What are your honorable mentions?
I have to mention Third Birthday just because Guy specifically mentioned it in the chat when we announced this episode, so I have to mention that Third Birthday exists. That is the nicest thing I will say about the Third Birthday. It is a
people
game.
did not like that game when it came. I was working at a game store, and people were like,
"Oh man, I was so upset because it was a third Parasite Eve game, so I was really stoked." And then I pop it in, and it's like a weakened, watered down wannabe Gears of War on a PSP, and I was like, "This is not what I signed up for, guys. You need to take this back and put it back in the oven." Maybe Guy will tell me exactly how I'm wrong in the after show. Also, Dracula X Chronicles, as much as it is not the best version of Rondo of Blood, it also includes the best version of Rondo of Blood.
I love that game.
Oh, yeah. I love
Dracula. No, I love Dracula X Chronicles.
Oh, gross.
Love it.
No, don't do that. Anyway.
I would say Mega Man X Maverick Hunter, too, on my list, but I feel like that one's so obvious.
Right, yeah. We already did a whole episode on it.
Yeah.
Also, Metal Slug XX feels obvious to me.
Very good, yeah.
But it was a good one. Tactics Ogre, we've done a whole episode on. Final Fantasy Tactics was a good port if you can handle the load times. And Final Fantasy IV, we've talked about as well, was an excellent port.
I really wanted to put Final Fantasy IV Complete Edition on my list, but it's Final Fantasy.
Yeah, it feels so
Sony
obvious.
console,
right.
like not a hidden gem, but still good.
Oh yeah, excellent port of that game anyway.
As far as final thoughts, the PSP is chock full of weird shit.
Yeah, I need to go through and download all the games that you mentioned here.
Yeah.
And do so guilt-free since they won't let me download them on a PSP anymore.
There you go. And it's such a cool system that I feel was kind of crowded out by technologically and gameplay-wise inferior action games that were trying to be full console action games that could never get there because they just didn't have the fucking buttons for them.
Yeah, like, again, most of the people that I knew that had one, or people now that previously had one, when they look back at the system, they're like, oh yeah, I had God of War on there and Ridge Racer.
Yeah. Yeah. And to be fair, God of War on PSP was pretty good.
Yeah.
And Ridge Racer plays fine because it's a racing game. You only really need 2 buttons and a stick for a racing game. But the PSP was just so much more. It was such a weird amalgamation of bizarre Japanese games and tons of really cool remasters, like Ultimate Ghosts and Goblins on there, or is it Ultimate Ghouls and Ghosts? It's an awesome version of the game.
Yeah, it was excellent.
Dracula X Chronicles, I really liked that version of the game. Maverick Hunter X, I really liked that version. The Gradius collection was fantastic. R-Type Command was really cool. Like, the PSP so good. It's just a really good system. Go play some PSP.
Dracula X Chronicles is not great, but it does have 2 great unlockable games in it, but it forces you to play through the remake to get to them. So
I like the remake.
That's not great.
I liked it.
Not great. So I can get past how ugly the graphics are, and they're really ugly. But the controls are just slightly off from the turbo version, and it kills me.
Well, see, I don't have that turbo muscle memory of the original, so maybe that's... I'd never played Rondo. Dracula X Chronicles was my first experience with the game.
Well, fortunately, you can unlock the turbo version in it, and then you can play a good game.
I love that there's that, like, PSP 2D, 3D look that I know people hate.
I hate it.
And I love it.
I hated it so much then. I hate it now.
I love it. I just love it.
So gross.
Anyway, that's the PSP.
That's it. That's the entire PSP.
It's a good system, and I highly recommend it to everyone all of the time. And if you play one game, please play What Did I Do to Deserve This, My Lord 2.
And also,
so
if
good.
you're looking to attack your enemies and you want them to go deaf, just put the UMD's drive right next to their ear and turn on any game.
And if you're looking for your friends to go deaf, then you can subscribe to our Patreon and get our other shows.
How does that affect your friends?
Because you're going to play it for them.
Oh, okay.
You're going to play it in their ears, and then whenever I laugh at something with my high-pitched cackling laugh, that'll trigger their tinnitus.
Oh, I thought that you were going to tell me that there was an episode of Talking Wizards where the two of you had a screaming contest.
No, we just played a high-pitched tone for 45 minutes. That was it.
It was the one from the menu from Horizon Zero Dawn.
You can go to patreon.com/Retro Warriors and get all of the other stuff that we do. We've started a new show called Retro Warriors Read Along. Which was really fun to record. I'm excited to do the next one. And it is a show that if you're at that Patreon level, you can hang out with us live while we record it. Which is on usually the last Saturday of the month around 8:30ish p.m. Central. And man, that was just really fun show to do. I like that. So if you want to hang out with us while we read old gaming magazines and be grossed out by how thirsty they are, then
well, it really depends on the era. The 90s were particularly thirsty.
We were in the late 90s, you know, so it was pretty thirsty then.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty thirsty. It was the gaming's weird teenage phase.
That hasn't ended.
We do want to thank the following patrons for their kind donations, starting with Nick M.
And Grady Haynes.
Gold Leader.
King Vidiot.
Jammo.
Mark Schwickendiehoffmeyer.
Lil Bunny Fufu 89.
Suffer.
Atari 2600 Consultant Marlowe 221.
And Vince the ShamWow guy.
You think they still have that offer where if I call, they'll give me a second ShamWow for free? Or
it's expiring very soon.
Oh, no, I better call. I gotta go.
It's within the next 8 minutes.
Anyway, stay tuned after the ending theme. Guys, going to be here for the after party. And you know, thank you for listening to the show that we did, and for listening after this, because there's more to listen to. Keep going up.
Nailed it.
Anyway, stay tuned after the show. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back next week, and as always, let us cling together. Hi, welcome to the after party, guys. Here, hi, guy.
Hi, this time you know I'm here.
I did. You've been speaking in the show.
Yeah,
it's like it's like when the producer is on one of those late night shows, and it's always kind of weird.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh yeah, that guy's there somewhere.
When they pan over to the guy, the director that's just in the crowd and is upset that the camera just faced him.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this is strange, so strange.
Yeah, that's why we don't record with cameras.
Is that what we can't? Don't record with cameras because my internet can't sustain it. And if I'm the only person without a camera, it makes y'all feel self-conscious.
Yeah,
I guess
we'll
that's
just
true.
We'll just make an animated Justin. That'll be his avatar.
Yeah, there you go. I'll get one of those VTuber avatars.
Do it.
Just like me.
I mean, be a VTuber, Justin.
No, I'm not going to be. If I did get a VTuber avatar, I'd want it to be like an angry beaver or something.
Which one?
Well, I would want to create a third angry beaver that is the forgotten brother to the other two, Norbit and Daggett.
Does he have a cop stash and glasses?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Obviously, it's got to look sort of like me.
Okay.
It's got to look similar-ish to me, but I want him to be an angry beaver.
That's fair. You guys just kept talking about me like the whole show. So, like by the end of it, I was like, okay, I'm going to chime in here.
We did mention him several times. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I'm glad that you both.
It's almost like he's our friend who is present or something. It's just this dumb.
What?
It's the weirdest.
I'm no one's friend.
Look, for that much money, you're my friend. All right, okay.
I apologize. I shit on Third Birthday, but I had to because it's a bad game. Just saying.
I don't know. I've never played it. I just hear it's an awful game.
It is an awful game. It's really bad, man. Oh, don't do it.
People fucking hated that game. It came out, everyone was stoked, and people were pissed.
Oh yeah, with good reason, because that's not the kind of game they wanted to play when we wanted to play a sequel to Parasite Eve. Because I was willing to give it the benefit of the doubt, because a lot of the early criticism was just like, oh, it's not even called Parasite Eve, and it doesn't follow the story because they couldn't buy the rights to Parasite Eve again. And I was like, I'm willing to look past that. I'll see what they do with it. And then I immediately start the game, and it's a fucking Gears of War cover shooter. I'm like, what the fuck is this? Why are you doing this to me?
That game, people did not like. Was that the one where every time she got hurt, some of her clothes ripped off?
I think so.
But they ripped off in a really weird, non-realistic fashion, as if all of her clothes were a single sheet of paper mache.
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant
Very
like
strange.
Natalie Portman in Attack of the Clones. She gets swiped by that thing, and it's like all of a sudden she's got this strategic rip on her abs or whatever.
Yeah, no. It's like it's very weird the way her clothes rip off.
Yeah,
it's like
so
very
dumb.
badly done.
It's so dumb. God, that game was dumb.
You know, I played the first two, and I was excited when they
Well,
announced the third one.
Like 1.5 of the first two are great.
Fair enough. But yeah, I don't know. I was sad that it got bad press. Like, it was one of those things that I was thinking about getting a PSP when that game came out to play that game.
Right.
Yeah.
And then everybody shat on it, and I was like, well, then I'm just not getting a PSP, I guess.
Right.
That was one of the first games that I remember gaming having the backlash to the backlash.
Oh?
Because there's always the backlash.
Right.
Something bad comes out and there's backlash. But then there's always, now anyways, in modern times, then there's got to be the backlash to the backlash, where the Defense Force comes out and they're like, no. Actually, it's really great. Because I remember it came out, it got middling reviews. People kind of shit on it. People were disappointed. Nobody liked it. And then like a couple months later, everybody had to come out and be like, actually, it's the best PSP game?
Well, they're wrong. Those people are wrong.
And so I remember being like, I thought this game sucked. Why is everyone now saying that it's actually good? And it was just, it was not, yeah. Because the thing about the backlash to the backlash is people in the Defense Force know to wait until the media cycle has cycled away, and that's when they show up, because then they can be the entire voice talking about it. It was fascinating. Fascinating to see that firsthand.
That's how things been, guy.
Good. You had a weekend getaway with Justin?
Well, I mean, there were other people there. It wasn't just us.
No, it was just...
I had a weekend getaway with my friend Justin.
How was the hot tub?
There was no hot tub. There were like 4 beds and 3 rooms.
What kind of a weekend getaway is this if you're not sharing a hot tub?
Well, we stayed in a bank.
We did stay in a bank.
Yeah.
I know what you mean, because you already explained it in the chat that it was a former bank that was renovated into an Airbnb.
But you're just imagining we're in a Wells Fargo.
Yeah, just imagine you're hanging out in a Wachovia.
Just shouting squatters' rights. Just like...
Dude, we were there for 3 nights, and 2 of the 3 nights I had to stand outside because the bank was too smoky.
Oh. What?
Nobody was smoking in the bank, to be clear.
It was just that there was a crew that came in that tried to rob the vault, and they set off all these explosives. And
no, it's because four grown men could not burn multiple meals while we were there the whole time. I don't know how we couldn't.
Justin, who cooks at a near professional chef level.
To be fair, I didn't burn anything.
Uh-huh.
I didn't burn anything, but stuff was burned.
Yeah, well, and they were using a cast iron skillet.
Mm-hmm.
And so when it started smoking, the solution for some reason was to put it in the sink and put water on it. Like that's not
okay.
That's not how that works.
I didn't do that. I did it when I was cleaning it, because it came off the stove and then I cleaned it in the sink. But yeah, it was. But it was fun. I was talking. We talked about it for a while on Talking Wizards. But I've never had a vacation with my friends like that ever.
Nice.
So that was pretty cool.
All of my adult vacations have been with friends. That's the only time I've been on vacation.
Before me and Courtney got together, I never even considered going on a vacation. It was. I thought about it as often as I thought about maybe I'll go to the moon. It just wasn't a thing that ever. I was like, people go on vacations. That's a real thing people do.
I think I've been on 3 vacations in my adult life, and they have all been with friends.
Yeah, yeah.
I've been on lots of vacations.
Vacations are expensive, man.
Well, yeah,
I'm still paying off a vacation from 2 years ago.
In my 20s, I couldn't afford it. Right. I made $300 a week, and so it's like.
Your vacation was to the bookstore.
Yeah, I was paying for school, but now that I'm an adult, we can afford it if we save up for it,
right.
and we're smart about it. But yeah, it was a good time. I had fun. It was very uncomfortable there. The place was not a comfortable place to be.
For so many reasons.
First of all, nothing in the whole building reclined.
That's true. I didn't realize
including the beds.
And I'm a very tall person. I need shit to recline.
Right.
Because nothing is tall enough for the length of my legs, so I need to be able to lean back so that my knees aren't above my waist, causing circulation problems.
I've got an ottoman. Does that work? Does that count?
Yeah, it can. Yeah, okay. Yeah. As long as I can have my feet up. Yeah. The only thing in the living room was just a couch and one non-reclining chair. So if you want to put your feet up, you had to drag one of these metal, uncomfortable end tables to the couch, but they were too tall to put your feet on, and they hurt because they were metal.
Why didn't you just grab a dining room chair and put your feet in that?
Because I would have to drag it across, and that was also too tall, and I had no padding.
Why didn't you kick everyone else off the couch and just lay back on the couch?
Just lay down across it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh, man, we watched Pop Star, Never Stop, Never Stopping. I love that movie.
I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. I'd never seen that. It was the Lonely Island movie.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I'd never seen that one.
Nice.
It was pretty good. Pretty good. Our friend had us watch a 3-hour-long Bollywood movie.
Which I still say was entertaining.
Yeah, I think I could have gone for it being about an hour shorter.
Yeah.
It was called RRR. I don't know if you're supposed to pronounce that but it was 3 R's, and it was good. Like by the end of it, I was excited. I cared. I was invested. It was a little long. It was a little lengthy. And the pacing was just fucking bizarre.
Oh, it was great.
But it was good. It was
better
good.
than your movie.
Oh yeah, I picked out what's it called? Nothing But Trouble with Dan Aykroyd.
Which was, it sounds like Saturn knows this movie, and to anybody else who's listening, which was better than Andrew's pick.
Oh no!
What did Andrew make us watch? What the fuck was that?
Some movie that Dan Fogler wrote and directed.
Yes, wrote and directed,
and apparently
on a cell phone.
Right. Yeah, like. Oh man!
God! It was called
Take Me Home Tonight.
It's called like Psychotic Maniac or something like that.
I'm just looking. I just Googled Dan Fogler movie cell phone.
No, it was.
Take Me Home Tonight. That has Topher Grace.
Topher Grace.
I think.
Yeah, that's what it says.
That's a good movie. I liked that movie.
Okay.
Didn't he get in a ball and get rolled down a hill or some shit?
I don't remember anything about the movie. I just remember being like, "Hey, it's Topher Grace. This probably sucks," and then being like, "Oh, this looks pretty good. I like that." So, yeah, it was a fun weekend. I had a good time. That place, that town, Wikipedia says it's a ghost town. And you show up, And it is.
Yeah.
You're in this big town square, and like 85% of the buildings are literally abandoned. And so there's nothing. There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. There's nothing to see, which is great for a weekend where we want to play D&D all weekend because there's no distractions because there's nothing to do. But yeah, that place was an armpit. Holy cow. It was the worst. It's the worst little town.
We found some racist graffiti. That was fun.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's how you know you're in small town America.
No people, still racist graffiti. How does this fucking happen?
Sounds about right.
Thanks, Texas.
Yeah.
You did it.
Yeah. I went to go visit some family who live out in the middle of nowhere. And on the way there, driving through one of the middle of nowhere towns that's like 400 people, I saw no cars, no anything, but I did see a big old billboard with just giant racist caricatures on it. Yeah.
Yeah, the billboards driving out, because it was about a 3-hour drive for me, and the billboards driving out there were, woof, they were something else.
Oh, yeah.
They were intense.
Yeah.
That's a good word for it.
Yeah, they're very intense.
Very overt about their opinions.
Dude, we got there the first day. We got there Friday, left on Monday. On the first day, Justin went to the grocery store down the street, like it's a block away.
God.
He spent the next 2 full days convincing us to go there. Like
it was like the set of the next Silent Hill movie. It was a terrifying place, which I described in detail on Talking Wizards.
Did you take pictures?
No, because I was scared to show them any modern technology. I was also scared to use my credit card, so I paid in cash. It was so imagine they opened a grocery store in 1971, and then they shut it down the next day, and then they opened it the day that I showed up. All the paint's chipping off the walls. Everything's falling apart. Nice. All the shelves have one of each item scooted all the way to the front. There's random shit in the floor. There was a CRT in one of the aisles with stickers all over it and a $10 price tag on it.
Half the fruit was rotten.
No.
Yeah, it was just fucking nasty. It straight up looked like when I pulled up, because I was going to get mustard, I pull up and I'm like, is Google Maps wrong? Like, this is... God, like this place is condemned. Like you see it from the outside. There's no sign.
Yeah.
It was a red and white. Yeah. The only sign that said red and white was destroyed. There's handwritten signs all over the front of it. It looked like a fucking set from a zombie apocalypse movie. And it was fucking, like, am I wrong? It was terrifying. It was a terrifying place.
No, but this is the exact description he gave us. And he's like, you have to go.
Yeah. No, you guys, I made him go. I made him go. And I didn't go. They were like, why aren't you going with us? And I was like, no. Andrew I won't go back.
He was looking for moon pies the whole time.
Yeah.
He's like, I want to get Justin some moon pies. I know he loves them. I'm sure they have them here. So he finds them and he buys like 4 of them. And then they get them back. And Justin takes one bite and like goes, it's ashy and blah, blah, blah.
Andrew did the same thing. We both threw them in the trash. Because here's what I've realized. The size of moon pies has not changed since like 100 years ago.
Right.
Nor has the price.
Right.
So something has had to change. Because they're like 86 cents and it's pretty fucking big. And when he told me how much they cost, it was before I opened it. My first thought was like, oh shit, this thing has to be 90% sawdust. Otherwise, they wouldn't be making any money fucking selling them. And I was right.
Nice.
It was the worst.
Was it the kind of small town grocery store where all the price tags are written by hand?
No, they're all on just those stickers from the little price gun.
Yeah. All right.
And there was they didn't scan any barcodes when you check out either.
Right. Yeah.
They just look at the pink sticker. There was a deli counter. I'm 90% sure it just had people meat in it. There's no way those were animals.
Oh, man.
Dude, there's a convenience store the other block away.
Yeah.
And it seemed a little bit more up to date.
Yeah.
I'm looking up just pictures of rural Texas grocery stores now.
Yeah.
Just to see if I can find something close. And
I'll find it's a red and white in a town called Bartlett, Texas. I don't know if you can find
I'm looking at right now.
Are you? Oh, is that it? That's what it was.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yep.
Here, I'm trying to find it too.
Here,
It was bad.
I'll
It was
send
so
you-
bad.
This is a
We're
great
still
podcast.
recording. I probably shouldn't be talking about pictures. That's not helping us.
Right.
Yeah.
But
But yeah, no, these photos are actually, so the second photo on Google Maps, they've got the shelves pretty stocked. It was not like that when we showed up.
Yeah.
And
There
it
was one
smelled
of
funky,
everything.
too.
Because it smelled like the 70s, dude.
Is that what the 70s smelled like?
Yeah, like cigarettes and farts.
none of us were alive in the 70s. Let me just say
Look, I know. Yeah, the place looks like it was condemned.
I like that this picture that I found just has an HP inkjet printer on one of the shelves underneath the Cheerios.
Yeah, they just put random fucking shit out there where they're like, hey, I need to get rid of this printer. I guess I'll go put it on the shelf at the red and white, sell it on consignment.
I tripped over some toddler toys. I wasn't sure if they were
Nice.
kids they were entertaining or if they were for
No.
sale.
That shit was for sale, man. Yeah, it was fucking bizarre. These pictures, it looks so much nicer than it was in real life in
Oh,
these pictures,
no.
honestly. Yeah.
Well, based on the date, I think these are pre-COVID pictures.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's bad. Nice. Anyway, guy, you got anything else for us this month?
No, I guess not.
Awesome. Well, thanks for listening. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.